Hi all YouTubers, welcome to Freakin' Jeep. My name is Tiny and this is the monkey. As you can see, we've moved up to the front now. You see here, up here is where the bolts are for the top of the strut up front. I have to pull this out, and unfortunately this has to come out too because they went and stuck a bolt underneath it. And the only way to get to it, of course, because it's a Torx head, is to move this aside. So I guess we get to it. Well, that turned out to be alright. Just the two 15mm bolts up here are nuts, and then ABS unit down here, a little below the line of sight here, the camera. 213s loosened up, give it a little lift on it. Was able to slide it forward, put the whole thing to the side. Now we can get to these bolts. One thing I did off camera that you can't see, I put a jack underneath the bottom of the spindle or the A-frame so that when I take these bolts out, I don't have to worry about dropping out down and maybe tearing a line or whatever. That way we don't have to damage anything. Off screen, I removed the bolts here on the bottom. Now let's try to get this thing out. Looks like we'll have to get the caliper off so we can hang that up. We're kind of stuck with the brake hose, so I want to be able to flip that thing out so I can get the strut completely out, because I'll have to disassemble it. So here we go, 12mm to get the bolt out. And there we have it. A little bit of work, a little twisting, a little prying. Make sure you get the bolts out the bottom first. Makes it a lot easier. So now we'll go over and get this set up in the strut compressor, spring compressor, and see if we can get these horribly rusty bolts out, or rusty nuts off the top. Well, now we've got it mounted in the strut compressor. It's got some fingers down here that hold the bottom of the spring. This big crown up on top pushes down on the top, and we'll compress this. That'll take the tension off the strut, and then we can take the strut out. And as usual, it doesn't look like we're going to have any luck, so we're going to have to try a little harder. All right. Well, it took a little bit of work. One strut I ended up having to cut the nut off with a grinder. This one I managed to work. I cleaned it up with a die grinder and a wire wheel, and I worked it back and forth a couple of times with a big impact wrench, and I managed to get it apart. So that's where we are now. Well, we got the old one out, new one. When you're putting these in, you got to make sure when, well, chances are you're going to take it to a shop and have a shop change it, because I'm sure you don't have a nice strut compressor laying around like this. But if you're doing it at home in the driveway with a spring compressor, you know, and you can manage, more power to you. Yeah, when you take these apart, you got to definitely make sure which way these mounting points here. You can see there's two holes. You got to make sure you know which direction those are going so that you put this together in the right orientation. If it's clocked wrong, it ain't going to work very well. Yeah, you don't want to put it in and then have to fight to get that all together once you got it in the car. So just to make a note when you take it apart, try to line everything up when you put it back together. Don't forget the bump stop. Well, I gotta get some pry bars. Wrong direction. The strut moved around on me a little bit, so a little prying, a little wiggling, but we managed to get it. Got it all lined back up. Struts through the hole. Now we're going to put this nut on there and tighten it up. Hopefully. Winner. Now I'm clocking the spring. And there you have it, all assembled, and hopefully clocked the right direction. Let's go put it in.